So I want to pull up this other story from Elon Musk about his plans for a legal effort. But we got to talk about solutions to what's happening with politics, culture, and all that stuff. Hearing you guys mention that you're giving grants to people, like just no strings attached, no equity, just do the work basically. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, if you're working on something cool, yeah.
One of the big challenges when we look at Project Veritas, James O'Keefe comes out. He says, "Be brave." We've got obviously at these companies there's censorship. Obviously, they're not being honest. We just had this expose where there's this engineer at Twitter talking to his date saying, "Oh yeah, they're censoring the right all the time." Why are these people not coming out and being like, "Yo, they're lying when they go to Congress and say these things. They're lying under oath." I think one of the reasons is they're scared. Many people say this. They say it all the time. I got kids, man. I can't just up and dip. So I often talk about infrastructure being a key element to, getting away from Silicon Valley. So Rumble, for instance, I'm a fan. We use their video player for the website members only section, and we use their cloud services for our website. And we're integrating more non-Silicon Valley infrastructure into the website. We have more plans. We'll announce those as soon as we have them ready to create competition, to push back. That's another big move. If people are going to be able to blow the whistle and come out and just give, maybe it's not James O'Keefe, maybe it's any news organization, and be like, here's documents proving it, there has to be a place for them to exist. There has to be something telling them you can find work, you can be supported, you will not be thrown to the wolves just by coming out. You're not sacrificing yourself. Doing the right thing actually could benefit you. It actually can be really great for your career. All of a sudden, you'll be getting a better job. But I want to pull up this tweet thread from Elon Musk from the 20th. Check this out. He says, Tesla is building a hardcore litigation department where we directly initiate and execute lawsuits. The team will report directly to me. Please send 3 to 5 bullet points describing evidence of exceptional ability. Justice@tesla.com. He says, my commitment, we will never seek victory in a just case against us, even if we probably win, even if we will probably win. We will never settle an unjust case against us, even if we will probably lose. Please include links to cases you have tried. He says, looking for hardcore street fighters, not white shoe lawyers like Perkins or Cooley who thrive on corruption. There will be blood.
Sounds like he was watching the show last night. Yeah, we do need
well,
more
this is
lawyers
from 4
like that.
days ago.
Oh, nice.
This is from 4 days ago.
This is the
man.
sentiment, man. We need lawyers that are willing to lose, that are willing to take a chance.
This is what one of the things that frustrates me in all of the conversations are people saying I've every single time I've been defamed, every time there's been some question of Section 230, every lawyer I've spoken with has been like, there's no point in trying. Don't do it. Elon Musk certainly has the funds to be like, don't care. Here's the money. Have fun. That's what we need. We need real solutions to all of these issues that are happening. So I'm curious what you guys think about the legal side of things in terms of suing or going after, we had talked privately about Section 230.
I mean, I'll defer to Ian here, who's a lawyer by training.
I'm a lawyer by training. I no longer practice, so I won't give direct legal takes. But I mean, obviously, litigation is a huge part of this. We just had the Fifth Circuit rule in a preliminary motion in the lawsuit to enjoin the social media law they passed. That could have a huge impact. There's a similar case on with a similar but not quite as powerful law in Florida that's on. I mean, these things are important in themselves, but they're also the culmination of at this point really 5 or 6 years of litigation around this very issue, around 230, around free speech, around the power of social media networks and so on. And he's absolutely right. The entire industry is coalesced around this. You have these industry associations that are spending a large amount of money on lawyers to fight because they do know how impactful it could be. And, at Fudo, we're not directly involved in any litigation. We kind of are focused on the technology side, but we know that it is a multi-pronged fight, and those lawsuits are very important.
How do you feel about copyright law from the past being used in future tech, like with social media technology and things like that?
Well, okay, I'm going to defer to Aaron on intellectual property law in particular, because he has some, but I'll just say that that's been an issue for 25 years. The very first political issue I ever remember being engaged in when I was 9 years old or something was the DMCA had just passed, and if you remember, DCSS was a very simple piece of software that allowed you to decode a DVD on a device without having paid the license fee for a DVD player. And this was one of the first things that they went after as a copyright breaking tool under the DMCA, which allowed you to shut it down. And that, I mean, right there is a huge. That is a use of a copyright enforcement mechanism to limit the freedom and not necessarily just to protect a copyright holder, but to go after the entire universe of freely flowing tech, of information, and so on. And I think that that's a principle that extends more broadly. The same technology that's used to enforce copyright or intellectual property can and it often is used to enforce restrictions on free speech, on the flow of information, and on the use of technology in general.
That's one of the big challenges with the copyright stuff that has happened with social media. Is I had a tweet that was absolutely fair use get taken down under copyright, and what do? The challenge is that I kind of feel like no matter what you do, the person with the most power wins. If you've got the money, you're going to win. That's just about it. I mean, maybe you might get lucky and get a good judge and fight your way through. But, even in the instance of James O'Keefe fighting defamation cases, he needs to raise like $1 million, $2 million to even try to go after these big companies. And then you just have the courts are always, often siding with the people who are defaming or the big tech or the establishment or something like that. This is one of the biggest challenges that it feels like it feels like I'm fighting an uphill battle because I've talked about Wikipedia quite a bit, how fractured the system is, how it makes literally no sense, but they have so much money. How do you compete with that as an individual? It just doesn't seem to make sense.
You need capital, that's for sure, because it's like a war of attrition in court. It's how long can I pay all these lawyers to stay in this courthouse and keep talking? No one really cares if they win or lose. They're all getting paid as long as you've got the money to pay them. So you either need people to work for free, which is a form of capital, or money. Social
currency, getting a lot of people who believe in you just to focus fire their efforts and their labor towards something more powerful, I guess. I want to mention an idea to you. So, Ian, you're a lawyer by training. I want to ask you your thoughts on this. What if we made a website where as soon as you load it, you are placed in a queue where you can write one word, and 5,000 people all write one word? Who's sued for defamation when you write a story claiming that Nancy Pelosi eats dogs?
It's a tough one. I see what you're getting at here, that what you're running there is an interactive computer service which is protected from defamation under CDA Section 230.
And each individual made no statement.
Right.
Writing the word dog, I didn't say anything. All I wrote was dog. Can't sue me, can you?
It's a very interesting, that could be a good law school hypothetical.
All right, we need some coders. If you're a developer, we're going to create this interactive website where it starts with a queue. I mentioned this the other day. And then everyone from your position, if you're the first person in, you're number one. You get the first word.
We'll just let everybody fork it whenever they want, and you'll be guaranteed to get whatever insane statements you want. And then as an editor, you could pick the one that you want to show.
Exactly. Yeah. And then we'll feature whichever one that comes up. So you might have an article that says Nancy Pelosi, run, jump, car, drive fast. And you're just like, that's nonsense. And then you'll finally get one that says Nancy Pelosi ate a dog. Because people just did.
Oh, like Mad Libs. Yeah,
kind of Mad Libs. Every single word.
What if you tell them this has to be a verb? Then are you all of a sudden an editor? And then you'll get sued because you're telling them to write a verb or a noun? Because that'll help it flow.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think we're onto something.
I mean,
what if I wrote Nancy Pelosi? What if we did an actual ad lib, where Mad Lib or whatever it's called, where it's like Nancy Pelosi blanked a blank, and then some random person could put a word in. I didn't write the sentence, right? I put blanks. Someone else put would I be able to be sued for defamation?
I'm definitely not an expert in defamation law. It seems like a difficult case to me. It's gonna hinge on a lot of things. But it's interesting.
I mean, the problem is your website. It would be hard for you to get enough clout for your website for people to believe what it said. As opposed to Wikipedia, where it kind of has a lot of clout now. Right?
Sure. I just think, we'll be allowed to post all of this stuff.
Sure.
I'll put it on Twitter to 1.3 million people and let them share it. And then what is anyone going to say to me? They're going to be like, you can't say that. And I'll be like, I'm just sharing a story from people. You can't sue me for it. It's not my. Or I'll tweet it out and I'll put, what a crazy story, right? And then everyone will see the headline. And And then what? What can they do about it?
If
I
it
think
ever
there's,
got
there's question whether it's defamation. Like if it is a website where these things truly are random people posting words, I think there's some question as to whether it is actually, even if it is something nasty that comes up eventually, as to whether it is like defamation, you know, as opposed to people would not take it, and if no one would take it as such, there's a certain point at which it's obviously satire and not meant as a statement.
What if I only allowed a handful of words like Nancy, Pelosi, eats, and dog?
Dog eats Nancy Pelosi.
You sure?
Yeah, never
Yeah.
know.
Whatever combination of the words.
I
you
love
want.
you, Nancy. I'm just kidding.
like,
by the
What
way.
if it turns out to be true? That's the real. That's the.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
I don't know.
Those pre-crimes.
I'm joking, but I mean, I look at what's going on with big tech and how they're basically invincible. How they have these laws that for us, we get spat on, we get pissed on, we get stepped on, and then Wikipedia can just do whatever the hell they want. That can't be. That just cannot be.
It's when it says from Wikipedia that it starts to get real fishy for me. Like if they were clear, like this is all community and they linked to the screen names of the people that put the little pieces in and stuff, that's a different story.
Except someone could write on Wikipedia, Nancy Pelosi eats chicken. Another person can go in and change chicken to dog, and they've made no statement. You can't sue that person because they've made no statement. The person who said she ate chicken, maybe that's true. The person who changed chicken to dog did not make a statement. He just said the word dog. You can't sue someone for saying a single word. There's no defamation there. Wikipedia needs to be sued into oblivion because it is them. They have automated the editorial process under their own byline. And this argument that they're protected under Section 230 makes absolutely no sense. You know what? We need, how do we do this? Do we set up a give, send, go, raise a couple $1,000,000? Find someone with standing and say, have fun? Is that allowed? Is that legal?
I mean, my preference would be to solve this technically and like build a better product than Wikipedia.
But I disagree. I think culture is the issue. That regular people know Wikipedia, use Wikipedia. Google has integrated Wikipedia in every facet. This machine is here. And they are clearly violating, at the very least, the spirit of the law. But I believe technically, like, in a technical standpoint, they're totally open to being sued. Someone just needs to do it. Where's James O'Keefe? Someone call James.
chilling,
James,
yeah.
what are you doing?
I mean, there's been lawsuits, right? So, I mean, they happen and Wikipedia will settle. Wikipedia will change it even if they feel they have to.
Well, they should change it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the goal, right? Get them to change it so they stop allowing this. Because right now, I do not understand how Wikipedia can publish such false statements. I mean, look, the Project Veritas article on Wikipedia is clearly an opinion piece. It's outrageous how much opinion it is. They're this, that, or otherwise, and conspiracies. And it's loaded with fake news. It's loaded with provenly false claims, and it's from Wikipedia. James, you got to sue.
Maybe we shouldn't be able to have people on Wikipedia. You shouldn't be able to have a person's page or corporation's page on Wikipedia, because like in Encyclopedia Britannica, they didn't have like people. It would just be things.
Well, I mean,
I think
there was maybe no living people at some. I'm not actually sure about that, but I think maybe at some point it was no living people, but I could be wrong.
Okay. What were you saying?
You've had Larry Sanger on. I mean, he's working on this. We're actually, Futo did a grant for his organization to try to fix this. I kind of agree with you. Like Wikipedia owns the culture right now, and like it's hard to solve. Like still, like this is a hard work, and like as Futo, as a tech organization, we want to try to create technical solutions. I do feel like there is some ways we can chip away at Wikipedia. Clearly, free speech has already weakened their stature in the culture. There's many people who like know that Wikipedia's propaganda on any kind of contentious issue. What I would like to see as from the technical solution would be some sort of way for dissenting editors at Wikipedia to very, very easily fork it and have their own kind of have their own articles show up, and have, building this product is one of the trickier things. I consider Wikipedia to be a very special case of social media. It's crowdsourced. It's a bunch of editors, like you said, making diffs to articles, right? But it still is very much, crowdsourced from millions of people or hundreds of thousands of people. It all comes in. How can we get it so that like those contributions are more ubiquitous for the world, and like different editors can decide, different editor organizations can decide which editors should be banned and which shouldn't, and the dissenting side in any kind of these Wikipedia edit wars actually has a viable thing that people will find. And those are the sorts of things that Larry's working on with his organization.
You could have like a page with all these overlays that would pop up with different percentages of how accurate are each overlay relative to these editors. Like if an editor has a 72% rating, then they're going to affect their overlay that they edited. And then you'd be able to sort all the overlays on like the Wikipedia's thing of like Hillary Clinton or whatever.
Right.
And then, so you'd see like 900,000 Hillary Clinton Wikipedia pages on top of each other. And then you'd sort them by the ones with the most trusted editors. And you'd sort that one to the top.
Maybe. I think the issue is the most trusted editors would be 50-50, if that, right? So I was talking with a group of people way back in the day about a journalist rating system or a news organization rating system. One of the things we want to do with our fact-checking nonprofit is create a browser extension and then actually hire fact checkers to rate various news outlets based on violations of journalistic ethics. One of the ideas has always been, what if you create like a meter showing like how much do we trust a journalist? Okay, well, if they write for Breitbart, they're going to get a 0, right? Because every mainstream, every liberal Democrat person is going to be like liar, 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 liar. At best, you could hope for 50-50. But that means you need, like, if I came out and said Joe Biden is corrupt, has engaged in overt corruption with the Ukraine scandal, saying fire the prosecutor. I mean, that is a statement of fact. When they claimed that Donald Trump was trying to get a quid pro quo in Ukraine, Joe Biden did literally that. Going to the president and saying fire the prosecutor or you're not getting $1 billion in loan guarantees. It's exactly what they claimed it was. So it's corruption. He's just not been held accountable for it. If I say that, people on the left are going to say either knowingly, or I should say that willfully, they'll call me a liar knowing it's true because they want political power. So they'll say, oh, that story from Tim Pool is false, -1. Then you're going to get a bunch of other Democrats and Antifa types who are going to be like, that's not true. I heard it on CNN, -1. You're hoping then that if 1,000 of these people downrate you, that some conservative who knows it's true is going to uprate you, or at the very least, you'll end up with conservatives saying, I believe that's true, whether it is or not. It's going to be the inverse version of the same thing.
So we would need a trustless way to identify their value. Maybe if people don't realize they're rating the articles or the individuals that edit the articles, but they're either maybe with crypto. I like the trustless smart contracts. I'm kind of throwing out buzzwords here.
I gotta be a little more pessimistic though. I think the issue is culture. It doesn't matter if you're gonna say a journalist is trusted or not. What matters is what the culture wants, believes, and expects. And right now we have two very distinct cultures in this country that will never come together.
I think it's natural. Resistance is natural human it's part of our evolution, our nature. You'll always have people saying that you're wrong and always have people saying you're right for the most part.
Things are different. I mean, it used to be that there were Democrats and Republicans. They'd argue with each other, but they were all Americans. They'd all come out for the 4th of July and be like, oh, I don't agree with that stuff. But hey, America, right? Now you've got people that CNN, for instance, all these big news outlets know for a fact they're never going to sell to a Trump supporter. So they have absolutely zero reason to be honest about Trump and his supporters. If they know their bread is being buttered by a bunch of, left activists, why would they ever tell the truth on Trump? I mean, right now, Jim Acosta, he did a segment the other day where he claimed Donald Trump appears to have been calling for civil war, which is just BS. It's not true. Trump retweeted basically a guy who said the words civil war. I don't know what that means. It's like, you want the news story? Here's the facts. Donald Trump reposts comment that says civil war. That's it. Take for it what you will. That's the fact. The opinion is, was he calling for it? Was he predicting it? Was he scared of it? I have no idea. But Jim Acosta, CNN, all these big mainstream outlets say he's either calling for it or predicting it. That's not true. None of that is true. That's all opinion. But they know there's no one, for the most part, who is buying from them for truth. Everybody wants their confirmation bias. Everyone, no matter where you come from. Now, I think there's a tendency, more so on the right, to associate with those who are right. Post-liberals, moderates, libertarians, and conservatives, whatever the freedom space is. You have more people who are like, no, just tell me what's true. The left, for the most part, has gone full zealot, as far as I can tell.
I don't like the word truth anymore. I used to be a zealot about what was true, and I'd be like, it is the one true something. And I'm just like, come on, Ian, you don't know. Like, get over yourself. And also the word trust. I don't think humans trust each other. We're wild animals. We've domesticated each other. We kind of sit in peace together with like pretending like we know we're not going to hurt each other, but like doesn't mean it's never going to happen, you know? So we live in this idea of truth and trust, which is just like 100%. They're extremes that don't exist. And so we should code our stuff that way too.
And trust can be in a way counterproductive. Let me explain that just briefly. I've talked to several people who grew up, behind the Iron Curtain, and what they always say about that is, we knew our news was fake. We knew the newspapers were nonsense. But and in a way, that's sort of because there was no trust. They knew that, okay, you have to read between the lines. You have to really think about this. In this country, for better or for worse, we used to have much more trust in media and our institutions. And I think part of that is technological. That we had an era where the main means of media distribution were the broadcast television channels, a few major newspapers that were sort of had a legal interest in being, I don't want to use the word objective that strongly, but more neutral. And we don't have that, and we sort of carried over this unwarranted trust. And as that's broken down, I think people look at things, even Wikipedia, I think with a more skeptical eye. And if you can shore that up, the people's if you can find things that people can trust, I think you do a service.
I think trustless. They talk about like smart contracts, crypto smart contracts are trustless because you don't have to trust that giving your money to the guy, he's going to do the thing that you gave him the money to do. It just automatically happens. So you remove that level of trust. I get like trusting your parents. If you don't trust your parents, I mean, the world's going to seem like it wants to kill you every moment you're living in it. But if you can trust your parents, it's still like, doesn't mean they're never going to turn on you, but it's just like an acceptance. Like when I step, my foot's not going to go through the ground. I trust that I'm going to land on solid ground. I guess it's just not an ideal. Like what do we have to trust something?
Every individual should be allowed to decide on their own who they trust, right? I mean,
based on what parameters?
Everybody gets to decide through their interactions with them, right? It's not, we can't have a top-down approach to trust where we're told to trust certain people.
I kind of feel like there may be an inevitability in the hyperpolarization, though I think it's possible that the tech oligarchs, the censorship has exacerbated this by banning only some people. I kind of feel like we saw early on in the internet tribes were forming where people like to rag on each other. There's a video that I talk about often called "This Video Will Make You Angry" by CGP Grey, where he mentions that communities don't actually argue with each other. They argue amongst themselves about the other, and they get riled up and get angrier and angrier about it. And this tribalism eventually leads to conflict. So I wonder if do you think that's an inevitability with the internet? I mean, the culture war itself arising out of these tribes that have formed where everyone hates each other.
I mean, yeah. I mean, human nature. We see it with sports teams. Everything, like, it's inevitable, but doesn't.
How do you stop it from getting to the point where people are killing each other?
This is a philosophical point, but I think that yes, if you do have I don't know if you call it a free market but if you do have different groups able to trust who they want and able to use an alternative technology when they want to get the information they do, I think that I understand that can lead to problems, but I think it leads to fewer problems than one of, like you say, this top-down enforcement of trust where inevitably one tribe or one side or another is going to feel this intense resentment. I think that's when things get really dangerous, when people are confirmed in their belief that everything is against them.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.